This is the video tutorial for the Happy Days Jack card holder and bag. And this is how we make it. You will need 2 contrasting fabrics, some fusible fleece interfacing, CDs or DVDs, buttons and a cam snap. We'll start by making the bag. Place your 2 bag fabrics right sides together, line up all the sides and edges and add some clips. I've added some clips and I've also added my gap sign to remind me to leave a gap, and it's from the gap sign I'm going to start. I'm going to sew all the top, stop, along the edge and stop, along the top, stop, back down, stop, all the way down to and stop, across the bottom and stop, and then back to where my gap starts and stop. And we're using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I've sewn all the way around using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I've used red thread so you can see it much clearer. I'm now going to snip each of the corners for a much nicer finish when we turn it. I'm now going to turn it the right way out through the gap I left. I've turned it the right way out and pressed it. Next, I'm going to measure 15 centimetres from this edge and draw a line across. Now, using that line, fold using that line as I've drawn, fold on that line and press. I've folded on the line I drew and I've pressed it and I've added clips along each side. I'm now going to use a scant 1/4 inch, so it's just a little bit less than a 1/4 inch, and sew along this side, which will automatically close the gap, and I'm going to sew along this side as well. I've sewn along both sides. Finally, I'm going to add a cam snap to fasten it. I've added my cam snap and that's the little bag all finished. Making the jack holders now. Place your fusible fleece with the glue side on the back of one of your circles and iron into place. I've ironed my fusible fleece onto the first one and I've repeated for the second one. Add some glue to the back of your CD, then place it centrally on top. Next, take a needle and thread and start a nice running stitch all the way around. Put a nice knot at the end. And carry on doing this all the way around. I've sewn all the way around and I'm going to gently pull it so everything's nicely gathered, and then just add a few stitches here to cast off. I've sewn all the way around and cast off, and I've repeated the whole process for the second one. I'll place them on top of one another and line up the edges. To attach the button, thread a needle and thread Sew all the way through both of them. And take your button sew it in the middle. Then turn over and add your other button this side. Continue to sew until both your buttons are sewn into place. And that's your Happy Days Jack card holder with bag all finished.